Hi, I'm Amy Romeo and welcome to my Seaside Vibes Crafting Event where I'm sharing a brand new faux leather summer craft for your Cricut every day for 10 days. Today's project is this really pretty seashell mini purse. It's made using faux leather for the base, heat transfer vinyl for the seashell decoration, and then it's assembled using 6mm rivets and a cam snap. I have the SVG file for this project in my shop. If you'd like to craft along with me, I'll leave a link to it for you. But before we get started, let's go ahead and talk about the tools and materials we'll be using to make this project. So I'll be using my Cricut Maker today, and you do need one of the larger machines to make this project because it is a large template. So any of the Maker machines or any of the Explore machines will work, including the Explore Air 2, and we're just cutting our faux leather with the standard fine point blade that comes on those machines. If you have the Cricut Joy Xtra, you can size the pattern down just a little bit, and it will work on the Joy Xtra as well. I'll be cutting my faux leather using my purple strong grip mat and my heat transfer vinyl using the green standard grip mat. Now the faux leather that I'm using is a sheet that is 9 inches long and 12 inches wide, and the pattern will fit on a size like this. So the most important thing about your faux leather is that it is nice and smooth. And you can see I have lots of different really pretty patterns here. You could go pink or neutrals or even some blues, like this really pretty mermaid scale. It's up to you. If you're buying a roll of faux leather on Amazon, for example, that's 12 inches long, then you'll be able to roll out the correct amount and that will work too. I'll have links to all of these really pretty faux leathers for you, as well as all of the supplies I'm using. Now the heat transfer vinyl I'm using, you can use any kind you'd like. I'm using this really pretty opal, white opal from Caesar. I'm also using a really pretty pink color. This is just Caesar Easy Weed. And I wanted a pop of gold and a little bit of sparkle. So I'm using some Tech Wrap gold heat transfer vinyl for some accents. You could also use Cricut foil iron-on in gold if you have that. To press the heat transfer vinyl onto the faux leather, I'm using my Easy Press Mini with a heat pressing pad and also a little cover sheet. You'll want some blue painter's tape, some crafting scissors, and some detail scissors if you have them. Something for your heat transfer vinyl, so either a weeding hook or a pin pen. I'll also use a little fabric glue when I'm finishing up the mini purse. I like Beacon Fabri-Tac. You could use something like Barely Art Glue or even E6000 as well. The rivets that we're using are 6mm in size. These come in lots of different metal finishes, and the little package usually comes with some tools, so I'll show you how to use those. And then for the little snap closure, we'll be using some size 20 cam snaps. And the cam snaps need special cam snap pliers. I'll leave a link to these for you. When I bought these, they came with the pliers and it was perfect. Now, I also wanted to mention, if you like this project, I do have a matching seashell wallet, and I also have a matching crab mini purse. These are both projects available to VIP pass holders of my event. So if you're interested in those, I'll leave a link as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop into Cricut Design Space. I'll show you how to cut out the pattern, and then we will start to assemble our mini purse. Starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, click on Upload, and then Upload Image, and browse to where the unzipped SVG file for this project is saved on your device. Click on it to select it, and then click Open. You'll see a preview of the purse template. Click Continue, and then Upload. So the template will load onto your canvas. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see all of the parts of the template. So the largest piece is the base of the purse, and that will cut from faux leather. This will also cut from faux leather. This is a little bottom piece that is going to be glued into the bottom of the purse to add some structure. These two pieces will also cut from faux leather, and I've colored them separately because they won't cut on the same piece of faux leather that's 9 inches by 12 inches. So I'm going to cut them on a different mat, so they're colored differently. They will both cut from faux leather. We're going to glue them together to create a nice sturdy purse handle. Now you could cut them from the same faux leather or you can cut them from different ones. It's up to you. And then the little shell pattern here will cut from 3 different layers of heat transfer vinyl. So we don't need to change the pattern size. I'm just going to go ahead and click the Make It button. We're cutting our material on a mat. And the first thing we need to do is go through each mat on the left-hand side and toggle that mirror button on. because faux leather and heat transfer vinyl cut in reverse. So once you've done that, I wanted to point out on this faux leather mat, as I mentioned, my piece of faux leather is 9 inches by 12 inches. So the 9-inch mark is right here. So that means the large purse pattern will fit, but this little piece is off to the side. So what I'm going to do is just drag it down here, and I'm going to nest it into an empty space on my mat so that it will cut from the same piece of faux leather. Now here on the little handles, I'm going to pull them away from each other just a little bit. If you want to cut these from 2 different pieces of faux leather, I recommend spacing them out a little bit so you can cut a piece of faux leather and tape it here, and then you could cut a second piece of faux leather and tape it over here. If you're going to cut them from the exact same color, then you can just nestle them next to each other and place one piece of faux leather down. I hope that makes sense. Now for the heat transfer vinyl mats, I like to drag them away from the edges a little bit just to give myself some room when I'm weeding and pressing my heat transfer vinyl. So after I've gone through and optimized all of the mats, I'm going to click back on my faux leather mat and click continue. For the faux leather, we will use the faux leather paper thin setting. If you don't have the setting bookmarked as a favorite, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. If you're using the Explorer Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to custom before you can find this setting. So faux leather paper thin, and I always use more pressure. That helps the blade go a little deeper. And here's a reminder that we're just using the regular fine point blade that comes with all of the current Cricut machines. So you'll cut your handle mat as well using the faux leather setting. And then for the heat transfer vinyl layers and mats, you will use the manufacturer's recommended cut setting for your brand and type of heat transfer vinyl. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop back over to my overhead camera, and we'll start to cut out our mats and begin the process of assembling the Seashell mini purse. So I have my piece of faux leather. I'm going to flip this over, put it pretty side down on my purple strong grip mat. Just make sure that your faux leather covers the area you saw the pattern is going to fit on your purple mat when you were in design space. I'm going to rub this all over with my fingers, and then I'm going to use my blue painter's tape and just cut off some pieces and tape this piece of faux leather down on all sides. This helps make sure that our faux leather won't shift while the blade is running through it, and it helps us get good cuts. Now you can lift up these pieces when you're done with your cut, save them, and use them over and over again. So we have our faux leather paper thin cut setting with more pressure ready to go. So I'm just going to load my mat into the machine and begin the cut. So our faux leather mat has cut one time, and before you unload the mat, use your sharp weeding tool and just lift up the edge to see if it looks like the cut went all the way through. This one looks pretty good. Now this pattern does have quite a few small holes, so sometimes I will repeat the cut just to make these little holes cut out one more time, even if it looks like the overall pattern cut out well. So if your cut did not go all the way through, or if you just want to get a second cut on all those little holes, you can rerun the cut as many times as you need to by pressing the cut button again, as long as you haven't unloaded your mat. So I'm going to go ahead and just repeat this cut. We'll get a little extra cut here on those little holes. Now, if you're new to cutting faux leather and your cut does not look like it went all the way through, don't be alarmed. That happens a lot. Just rerun the cut as many times as you need to. Check every time after the cut runs, and then you can decide when you're ready to unload your mat. So I'll check again, and it's the little holes that I'm particularly concerned about. These are coming up nicely, so I'm going to unload the mat and remove my purse shape. Now this is where having little small scissors, like my curved scissors or maybe embroidery scissors, comes in handy, because if some little cuts didn't go all the way through, which happens, you can just trim those off using your little scissors. Also, if your faux leather has any little fuzzies on the edges, you can use those scissors to trim that up too. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to trim up all these little holes on my faux leather pattern. I'm going to return to design space, cut out my faux leather handle, and I'm going to cut out all of my heat transfer vinyl mats. I'll weed away the excess and then we'll come back together and we will start putting together our purse. First by heat pressing our seashell decoration on the cover, and then by assembling the purse using our rivets and the cam snap. So I've finished cutting all of my heat transfer vinyl mats, and I've weeded away all the excess vinyl. I've trimmed these two shapes apart from each other so I can place them separately, and I've also weeded away this little hole in the middle of the seashell, so be sure you get that. I have my heat pressing pad and my little cover sheet ready to go. I also have my Easy Press Mini preheated. This is the low setting, just that first green line. If you're using a regular Easy Press, I recommend setting it to about 265 degrees. Now let's move on to gluing our purse handle first so that that can start drying while we're pressing the heat transfer vinyl and also assembling the purse with the rivets. So I decided to make this double-sided faux leather so that it adds some structure and stiffness to the handle. Let me show you how it looks on the little crab purse. Again, this is a bonus for VIP pass holders in my Seaside Vibes Crafting Event. You can see that the outside I made a light blue, and the inside I did a really fun red glitter heat transfer vinyl. For this one, I'm just using two of the same color, but you can see how the two handles together, glued together, really makes for a nice stiff and sturdy purse handle. So I'm using Beacon Fabri-Tac. I'm just going to place one of my little handle pieces over here, and I'm going to use my glue and just glue all around the back. Make sure you go around that hole and glue all the way down. Now what I love about this glue is that it is very thin, so it is going to smooth out when you press these two shapes together and press them underneath my heavy books here, and the glue is going to seep all the way to the edge, which is really nice. It's going to help us get a nice firm seal on the edge. So I'm just going to take the top shape, place it on top. Make sure to line up those holes and line up your edges. If any glue seeps out, just wipe it up with a damp paper towel or your fingers, and that looks pretty good. Now you can see that the edges have not come together yet, the edges that we glued, and that's okay. We really need to do the next step, which is pressing these shapes underneath our heavy book. So I have some little scrap pieces of paper. I'm just going to cover this with scrap paper so that none of the print from the book transfers onto the faux leather. And I have two books. I'm just going to place them here on top of my shapes, and we're going to let those dry. Ideally, you want to let these dry for about an hour before you use the handle. Okay, so now we can move on to heat pressing our little seashell shapes. And I'm going to have to move these off to the side. Now this is a Teflon sheet, like a large t-shirt size Teflon sheet that I've trimmed smaller, but you could use butcher paper or parchment paper or a large Teflon sheet. I'm just going to get my little purse shape here, put it with the seashell design at the bottom. And the first layer we're going to start with is the seashell. Now inside your download folder, you'll find what's called a layering guide. It's a little graphic that shows you what order to press each layer in case you forget or you just want a reminder. So in the layering guide, you'll see that the shell layer goes first. And what we want to do is line up that hole in the middle of the shell. We want to line that up with the hole in the faux leather purse shape. When you do that, just kind of make sure that this space here and the space here is even. That means your shell is going up in the right direction, and you want a nice even border all around the edges here on your shell. So I'm going to just cover with my little cover sheet and press all over for about 10 seconds. Now I'm moving my little Easy Press Mini around, but if you have a regular Easy Press, you'll just place it down, making sure that none of the Easy Press touches the faux leather without a cover sheet over it. I've found with this Caesar White Opal, this is an electric product of theirs, I found with the Caesar White Opal and also with the Tech Wrap with the gold chrome heat transfer vinyl, I like to let it cool just a little bit before I try and peel it. So I'm going to do that for just a second. So I've probably let it cool for about 30 seconds. And what you want to do is very slowly try to peel away that clear carrier sheet. If when you're peeling you see any lifting or bubbling, then you just want to place your cover sheet right back down, cover again, and press for 5 to 10 seconds. But this one looks pretty good, so I'm just going to go slow. And when you peel this off, you can see that pretty opalescent color. I know it's hard to see, it just looks white, but there really is a very pretty pearlescent opal finish on this heat transfer vinyl. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our gold layer, or whatever layer you've chosen for your little scallops. So I'm just going to line this up. We're lining it up at the top edge of the shell, so you should not see any of the top edge of the shell when you've placed this down. Isn't that pretty with the gold shimmer? Again, we're just going to cover and press, and then I'm going to let it cool again for about 30 seconds before I try and peel it. So I've let this cool. Again, I'm just going to very slowly peel in case I need to place this back down. Sometimes these specialty finish products like, you know, the opal or the gold here can be a little finicky, so just go slow, take your time. And that looks great. Now I'm going to add that little bottom shell piece here. And then lastly, we will add the top layer here, which is all of these little stripes. You're going to want to line up the top of the stripe with all of those little scallop curves, just like that. And we'll cover and press one more time. Now this last layer is Caesar Easy Weed, and I don't really need to let that cool, so I'm just going to go ahead and peel. So this is how the shell looks when all of those heat transfer vinyl layers are applied. I think it's so pretty. And of course you can use all different colors and types of heat transfer vinyl to get lots of different pretty shells to match your faux leather. So I'm going to place this underneath my heat pressing pad just to let it cool completely nice and flat. And I'm going to allow my handles that are glued to dry a little longer. So we'll take a break. We'll come right back. I'll show you how to attach the handle, how to put the purse together using the rivets, and attach the cam snap and glue some little finished parts on the inside. So our heat transfer vinyl Seashell has cooled nice and flat, and here is that handle with the two pieces of faux leather glued together, and you can see how nice and tight and seamless of an edge you can get when you glue the faux leather together and then you let it dry underneath something heavy like your book for about an hour. So the first thing we want to do is attach our handle to the purse, and we're going to do that using rivets. Now rivets are these little, that almost looks like a small nail. It has like a brad head at the top, and these are 6mm rivets. What's important is that 6mm is the cap size, so the cap, the end of that cap is 6mm. Now what's also 6mm is the post. So these are really 6mm by 6mm rivets, and that's important because if you get a 6mm cap with a longer post, it's going to be too long when you're attaching it to your faux leather, and your post will bend instead of smushing down. So be sure to check the materials list for the 6x6 rivets. If you're shopping on Amazon, there's usually a graphic that shows you not only the head size but also the post size. So this one is too long, this one is just right. So on the other end of that rivet post, you're going to have a piece that is just like the nail head by itself. So let me show you how this works. On our purse shape here, let me flip it over, it'll be easier to see. You've got 3 holes here on both sides. Those are rivet holes. Then you have 3 matching holes. We're going to line those up with these. I'll show you how to do that. And then right up here, next to this row of 3 holes up at the top, you have the holes for the purse handles. So I still need to pop that one out, but that's where we're going to attach our purse handle. So I'm going to flip it over, and the way the purse is going to be attached looks like this. And that's because when we fold it around, that's how the handle is going to go over. So Let's first grab one of the 6mm rivets, the post part. We're going to first pop it through the handle. Then we're going to pop it through that hole. Remember, it's not the hole with the row of 3, it's one over. And we're doing this from the outside of the purse. So through the handle, through the purse, and then on the back side, we're going to pop a post on. And when you push this post on, you're going to feel it snap. Sometimes you might hear it snap. And now it's not secured yet, but at least it's in place for us to be able to repeat this process on the other side. So kind of fold your handle over, line it up with the hole, push your post through the handle and through the purse hole. When it pops out the other side, only a little bit is going to pop out, and that's okay. You just put your little end cap of your rivet on the other side, and this is what it should look like. Now, with the rivet package, generally there is a piece like this, and this is for us to hammer the rivets without damaging the head of the rivet. And there's also usually a metal piece like this, and this is a strike plate. This is to help us hammer. So I just have a regular hammer from my garage. What I'm going to do is place this strike plate. I'm actually going to flip this over. I'm going to place this strike plate right underneath so that the little rivet here is resting on the strike plate. I want to make sure that my handle is straight up, so we want it to be at a 90-degree angle here of the purse, so make sure you've got it in the right spot. Then we're going to take this little plastic piece. There's a flat end and there's a curved end. The curved end goes on top of the rivet, and this keeps the rivet head from getting damaged when you hammer. So you're just going to place that on top. We've got our strike plate underneath, and then I'm just going to take my regular hammer and I'm going to hammer maybe 6 or 7 times. When you do that, that pushes the rivet pieces together, and now we've got a nice tight closed rivet. You can see it closed on that side, closed on that side, and it's no longer moving around. So now let's do that on the other side as well. Place that right on the strike plate. Make sure that this is at a 90-degree angle, so you have a nice right angle there. Cover and hammer. And now our little purse handle is in place. Now the reason we put the purse handle first is because once you fold in all the layers of the purse, you won't be able to get to the holes where you need to attach the handle. So now that our handle is in place, I'm going to place this back down again, and we're going to attach the other rivets to put the purse shape together. So you're going to look for the 2 rows here of the 3 rivets, and what we're going to do is push a rivet through from the back, from the inside of the purse to the outside. You're going to push them through on both sides. And then once you've done that, you've pushed these through, you're going to want to take 2 pieces of blue painter's tape, and you're going to want to cover them, tape over the heads so that they don't push back through when we're attaching them to this side of the purse. So that's a little helpful tip. So now your purse should look like this. This is where the shell is, and then we've got 3 posts here. It's a little hard to see, but 3 posts are sticking up here, 3 posts are sticking up here. Okay, so the next phase is we are going to take one of the sides, and you're going to take this little flap and flip it up. Then we are going to take the part with the shell, lift it up as well, kind of holding that little flap inside, wrap this flap over, and then we're going to bring the back up, wrap it around, and then we're going to pop the 3 holes here on this back flap. We're going to line those up onto the posts that are sticking up with tape underneath. Let me show you that again on the other side. Well, before I do that, let me put my little caps on these rivets sticking up so that I don't lose them. So the tape inside is helping keep these posts from popping back down into the purse. Okay, so that's what the back should look like. So let me show you that again from the other side. This flap goes up, then the rounded flap comes around, and then this flap with the holes wraps around again, and the 3 holes line up on the 3 posts. So again, I'm going to put those little caps on. Okay, so this is what it looks like from the back. And this is what it looks like from the front. Now let's leave our blue tape in there until we have hammered down all these rivets. So now, because the purse is already folded up, what we'll need to do now is take our strike plate, and we're going to need to put this inside of the purse. I'm going to flip it over, put this inside the purse, line it up underneath one of those rivets. Again, just cover and hammer. And then just move that little strike plate down inside the purse until you've hammered all of the rivets. So that's it for the rivets. All the rivets are hammered down. Now we can go back on the inside and pull out our tape, and we can see how the little purse is coming together. So the last thing we need to do for the assembly is to put the cam snap here, which is going to create the snap of the purse. So as I mentioned, we're using size 20 cam snaps, and I get them from Amazon in this box with all these little colors. And this box came with this little diagram here that shows the different pieces you need from the box to create one set of snaps. And if you've already made snaps with me before, you can go ahead and skip this part. But I've gone through the box here. I'm going to use this kind of cream color. I've already gone through my box and pulled out the 4 parts. So for one snap, we need a cap, a stud. The stud has little bumps on the back, a socket, and another cap. So I've gone and pulled these 4 pieces and laid them out here on my work area. I'll include a copy of this in your download for the SVG for the purse so that you have this handy as well. We also need our cam snap pliers. So let's do the outside first. So what we need for the flap of the purse, we need a cap. A cap is going to go on the outside, and I chose white because that's the color of my shell, this kind of cream color. You might want to choose a color that matches whatever color your shell is. And then on the inside, we're going to put the stud. So the stud is very hard to see because this is white, but it has little tiny bumps. Those bumps are going to go onto the faux leather. So this stud is the part that sticks out and is going to snap into the other piece, which is the socket. So I'm going to flip this around. Now the cam snap pliers have a large black piece. That black piece is always going to go over the cap. And when you slide it over, I'm using my fingers to hold both pieces in place. When you slide this over, the black piece is going to completely engulf the cap so you don't see it anymore. Once you have that in place, then this white piece inside will line up perfectly to the other piece on the inside, either the socket or the stud. So once you have everything lined up perfectly, all you need to do is squeeze, 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 squeeze as hard as you can. And now we have the first part of the snap for the mini purse. So for the inside, you're going to find that little hole there. Now for the inside, the cap is going to go on the inside this time. So the cap goes on the inside, comes out of the hole. And then we're going to put the other piece, which is the socket in this case. Again, I'm holding both these pieces with my fingers, finding the black part. The black part always goes over the cap. Now I'm folding, this is folding my faux leather. Don't worry about that. Faux leather is very flexible. I know it's hard to see, but the cap is completely covering that. The black piece of the pliers is completely covering the cap, which means this piece is lined up as well. I'm just gonna squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And there we go. That's our little snap for the front of the purse. Now, before we are finished, let's just use a little bit of our fabric glue here. What I want to do is glue these loose flaps down. And I also want to glue this little base piece in the bottom of the purse. This helps create some structure to your purse and makes it have a flat bottom. So for this, again, I'm just using the fabric tack, You can use any kind of craft glue you like. Now for these little flaps, I just kind of get in there with the glue. Get the glue all over. And then press the little flap up. I try and press my flap up so that it's lined up with the purse handle. So I'll do that on both sides. Now these little flaps control this little opening here. There's kind of a little gap at the bottom. So when you're gluing, just kind of take a look at those little openings and make sure that you're happy with how they look and they both look symmetrical. Now for this last piece, which is the base piece, there's two ways to do it. You can apply the glue on the back and then stick it in there. Or what I like to do, so I don't get glue everywhere, I just kind of get some glue in the bottom here. Get it all over that bottom. And then I'm going to press my faux leather shape inside. Just kind of press it down with your fingers. It's going to fit right in there perfectly. Press all over. And there we go. That's it. That's the little seashell mini purse all completed. Isn't that cute? So here's another look at the little seashell mini purse. I think it came out great. Just a reminder, if you're interested in getting the little matching card wallet pattern, this fits inside the purse. Or if you're interested in the little crab mini purse, these are both bonuses for VIP pass holders for my Seaside Vibes Crafting Event. And I will leave a link to more information for you about the VIP pass. I really hope you like this project. And thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.